Welcome to the Brown County Hour.
Coming to you from the legendary Hills of Brown,
where the plum purple haze,
the one nature herself drapes over the hills and hollers,
inspires local characters, artists, and nature lovers.
It's as though the hills themselves conspire to create a beauty and culture in the heart of Indiana.
Sit for a spell and hear the music.
Tall tales,
true stories,
and current goings-on.
Brought to you by folks who still know how to sit by a fire in winter
and swim buck naked in summer.
Welcome to episode 78 of the Brown County Hour. This is Vera Grubbs.
And Dave Seastrom, along with the rest of the crew. This month, we have a special fund drive edition of the show, and we'll introduce the content of each segment as we present them.
In our first segment, we'll listen to our interview with Nathan Dillon from the Acre Brothers as he discusses their new CD, Brothers and Sisters. And we'll listen to one of the new songs, Hillbilly Knuckle Jam.
It is my pleasure to introduce Nathan Dillon and our very own Chuck Wills, who are, together with others, the Acre Brothers. Although, in all fairness, Nathan, you are the principal Acre, right?
I'm actually adopted.
You're an adopted Acre?
Yeah.
Well, I was curious as to the origin of the name Acre Brothers. I mean, are there any actual acres involved?
No, although when we make sounds, we try to make a loud enough sound that it reaches as far as it possibly can.
Well, then there's like wiseacre, right?
Right. That's right.
That term, I mean, it can be used for a lot of things, right?
Yeah, it can, exactly.
Well, you've just produced your new CD, Brothers and Sisters, which I had the great pleasure of listening to today, and it's really great.
Thank you.
What can I say? I really enjoyed the music. I know Chuck is, as you said, all over this.
Mm-hmm.
And you are the songwriter, with the exception of one song that you co-wrote. So,
that's right.
I mean, you're definitely the main Acre.
Right. Well, yeah, that's probably pretty accurate. The record itself, though, it's like making a film. You're not going to make a film with one person. You're going to make it with a bunch of people, and that's
right.
The way making a record is, too. So the record involved many, many talented people. And
I can see that from the list of folks that are on it. It's amazing.
We basically lived at the studio for a week.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, it says here that you made this record in a marathon session of 4 days and nights.
It felt like a week.
Okay, all right. Well,
it was over
up.
70 hours in 4 days. So,
did you even go home to sleep, or
sort of?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those things where you fall out of bed and go right back to it and go until you fall over, and then you sleep for a minute, and then you know.
Well, studio time costs money, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. And our producer and engineer doesn't live here anymore. He used to. Sam Crawford went to IU and is from DeMott, but he lives in New York, so he's on a time frame as well. And if it was going to happen, it had to happen then.
So you did a lot of practice and prep work to be ready for this.
We did. We did a lot of practice. We did a lot of prepping. Although at least 3 of the songs I brought to everyone with like 2 weeks to go. I finally finished some songs that I had been working on and brought them to the band, and everyone was saying, should we be trying new things while we're getting ready for this? And I said, no, we need these need to be on there. And the first song on the CD is actually one of those kind of fresher tunes.
Well, Chuck, I know you were deeply involved in this project. I want to talk about some of the things that you added to the mix.
Just a counterpoint to the few songs that were brought in at the last minute. There were a few that we'd been playing so long, I was convinced they were off of the previous album.
Oh, that's true. That's right.
Yeah, and so when we were recording them for this one, I thought, wait a minute, hasn't this already been done?
That's right. That means the band is well rehearsed.
Yeah, we knew the tunes. But it was great to get into the studio with Nathan and everybody else and, just make it happen, kind of the creative process happening. And edits happening real time, some of them significant. Which song was it that we completely changed the feel of the tune in the studio?
The one that we changed the most is In Like a Lion,
Oh,
which
yeah.
came in as a real folky acoustic guitar sounding tune and ended up being like more of a Staxy kind of groove.
Yeah, a little more soul.
It was definitely the one that we were all scratching our heads about. It just was not working. And our producer was like, if this is going to work, you're going to have to change this,
Yeah.
top to bottom.
So thank
And we
goodness for
did.
Sam. Thank
Yeah,
goodness for him
exactly,
saying that.
exactly.
And then I'm standing there in the studio with guitar around my neck, and Nathan goes, we really need a different guitar part here in the chorus. Chuck, would you write one? Yeah.
Let me get my cape, and as soon as I get out of the phone
asked so
booth.
nicely.
And then he did.
Yeah, and
You
then
know.
he did.
Yeah.
Sometimes the time pressure, it makes you perform.
Or crazy.
I think there's something to that.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a year. You're not going to do anything for 364 days, right?
Right. Well, there's this great diagram of being a musician, the life of a musician, that if there's 24 hours in a day, 23 of them are spent worrying about your ability to perform as an artist.
Right.
And then 1 hour actually doing it. So,
Right. My mother always said that your time will expand and contract depending on how much you have to get the task done.
Yeah.
So if you have 4 hours, it's going to take 4 hours. If you have 15 minutes, it's going to take 15 minutes.
It sounds like Mama knows what she's talking about.
So we had
Exactly.
4 days.
Exactly.
Why don't you tell us what's your Facebook, what's your website, so we can check this music out for ourselves?
So the record comes out on September 28th, and it will
Right.
be available on all streaming services at that time. We are selling CDs a little bit early to folks around here who come and see our shows and have been coming for years, and we love them. So some folks are getting it a little bit early, but then it's available for everybody by the 28th. You can go to iTunes or you can use Spotify. Any and all means will be available at the
Yeah.
end of September.
And you can keep up with us at theacrebrothers.com.
Is there going to be a big CD release party?
Yes, the 28th and 29th at the Brown County Inn is going to be our release party weekend.
Excellent. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for sharing this information. And I know many people will be enjoying this music.
Thanks, Dave.
Hillbilly Knuckle Jam, I'm still not quite sure what it's about, but it's really fun. And the slide riff on it is a riff that I've been playing for about 5 years. And a couple of weeks before we went into the studio, I finally nailed down a song with that part in it. It's really fun to play. It's the Hillbilly Knuckle Jam. It's the Hillbilly Knuckle Jam. Ah! First the left foot, then the right. Stumble out the door into the night. Windows down, it's raining hard. Singing at the top of my lungs, whiskey in a jar. Books in the bed of my truck, ink's gonna run. Princess of the county's gonna cry over someone. Cry over someone. Cry over someone. It's the Hillbilly Knuckle Jam. It's the Hillbilly Knuckle Jam. It's the Hillbilly Knuckle Jam. Come on.
my brother. Looking for a hillbilly knuckle jam, ain't gotta look too far. Swigs and swings, taking the curves too high, taking the curves too high, taking the curves too hard. It's the hillbilly knuckle jam, it's the hillbilly knuckle jam, it's the hillbilly knuckle jam. Come on!
Thanks for listening to the Brown County Hour. As mentioned at the beginning of this episode, this is our fall fundraiser for WFHB. Although you may be listening online right now, we are part of WFHB and rely on them for support, including our studio space and radio airtime. As Dave will tell you later in this episode, your support is critical right now. I'd like to ask you to do two things. First, go to WFHB.org and click the donate button. Every dollar helps ensure our survival. I'd also ask that you tell a friend about our programming, maybe even share this episode on social media. Whether listening on the airwaves or online, the more the merrier, and we sincerely appreciate the support of you and your friends.
In segment 2, we bring you a discussion with some representatives from Kids on Wheels as they discuss the vital work they're doing, and we'll close with an Acre Brothers tune, In Like a Lion.
It's my pleasure to introduce you to a group of people who are representing the Kids on Wheels, and I'm going to let them tell their own story and introduce themselves as they speak.
Hi, I'm Isaiah Smith, and I started this project, and I've been working with people here to my left to get a skate park, and it kind of started as my senior project.
Okay. And a skate park, as we were talking about this, Kids on Wheels is actually, it's more ubiquitous than just a skateboard. It's anything that involves wheels. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
All extreme sports, so we're welcoming rollerbladers, scooters, BMX biking, skateboarding, obviously. It's just we want to have a space for kids to, participate in sports like that. My experience with skate parks has been nothing but positive. Every time I've gone to a skate park, I've met kids who have been mentored by other, mature skateboarders or bikers, etc. It's kind of like a little community, and they actually call it a skateboard scene or a bike scene because everybody just gets together and you're just welcome.
Well, and I also imagine that even for the non-skateboarding BMX bike people, there's still going to be a scene, and that's that kind of social interaction. That's the glue that holds teenagers together.
Right.
I mean, all you have to do is put teenagers together with some central activity, and even if they're just observing, it's still going to be a wonderful experience. Let's talk about the fundraising efforts.
I can address that.
All right.
I'm Colleen Smith. We were awarded a $50,000 matching grant from the Indiana Housing and Community Development Authority. And so if we raise $50,000, then the state will give us $50,000 towards our skate park. And our deadline, we have 60 days. Our deadline is September 22nd.
Hi, I'm Clara Stanley. I'm currently serving the board of Beta, Brown County Enrichment for Teens Association, as president, and I'm very happy and honored to support this Kids on Wheel since our Beta teens are very much involved, and they also come to Beta and they also skate.
And it's all about providing activities for kids.
Yes, yeah. It is so important that we as a community listen to the voice of our growing teens and children and just create some open space so they can come and express themselves in such a healthy way.
Exactly. And it's always been the problem where kids in Nashville and Brown County in general, there's no place to congregate. There's no place for kids to get together and talk and be teenagers. What can you say?
That's exactly. Yeah.
I'm Anna Hofstetter, and I'm very passionate about the idea of having things for kids to do in this community. I am raising 2 small children in this community myself. I just feel like if we have programs and activities for the kids to do, then it's going to have a residual impact throughout the future of our community. There's going to be less drug use, higher education, higher income because of higher education. It's a win-win-win. It's not an expense. It's an investment in our future.
I agree. Well, where are you guys at now? So you've got $33,000 more or less, and you're towards your goal of 50, which would, if you reach that goal, then it's 100,000. Is that enough to build the park? Would $100,000 do it?
Well, we've also done really well with in-kind donations. So Shelby Materials is selling us the concrete at a discount. Kreutz is giving us the rebar and the coping metal that we need, not only at cost, but also giving us a $2,500 discount in addition to that.
Wow.
The county is going to see what they can do to get us some fill dirt so we don't have to pay for that. And they're also going to let us purchase our stone through their account so that we can get their rate as opposed to what our rate would be.
Well, this is excellent. All of this support that your idea has garnered in the community, and that speaks volumes to how important this really is.
One thing that I find so inspiring about this is that it was inspired by students. It was the kids that got together in 2016, and they organized themselves. And I feel like that kind of perseverance and hard work and dedication and passion should be rewarded.
I agree. And it's clear that Isaiah has a lot of passion behind all of this. And so do you guys have a website?
We do have a Facebook page. It is Kids on Wheels, Nashville, Indiana. And we have information on there about upcoming fundraising events that we have. If you would like to donate online, that link is on our Facebook page. And then we have all the events we've been doing. We've been posting pictures of what's happened that day and any donations that have been made. So if you want to follow us, you can go there.
Well, this is very exciting. We wish you all the best. I really hope this succeeds because I think this is one of the things that will make a big difference in our county. It all starts with the youth. And if you're going to invest anywhere in a society, in a culture, it's got to be the children.
Well, we have to think about who's going to be taking care of our world when we're not here.
Exactly. So, and some of us have already had our turn. So, thank you so much for coming in. Wish you the very best, and look forward to taking my grandson to this skate park.
In Like a Lion is the song that changed the most during the week that we recorded. We started the song as an acoustic kind of almost country song, and it ended up being a real grooving, almost R&B feel to it.
Last time I rode through town, a Roman instrument, in like a lion and out like a lamb. Try not to think about you was getting hitched, barefoot wedding and a groomsman in the ditch. Put on a good face, said all the right things, laughed at the right times, raised a glass of wine, but my heart kept returning, you and you alone. Started wondering if the road out of town soon curved to the left. It does, in case you're wondering, it does. When you're young, it's all gonna work out. When you're young, best friends for life, no doubt. When you're young, ain't got time to worry about. When you're young, when you're young. On the night of the last dance, we took a walk down by the old VFW hall. We held hands as we stood on the last standing brick wall. When was the line drawn? When the store? Did your dad have some sense after all? Foolish to hold on, we're older and I'm gone. Like you said that night, you gotta grab love when you can. And we dance in the shadow of the old hall. We dance the last waltz. When you're young, everything's gonna work out. When you're young, gonna get back together, no doubt. When you're young, ain't got time to worry about. When you're young, when you're young. Next time I come through town, I'll have my hat in my hand. Not in like a lion and out like a lamb.
Segment 3 begins with Bill Miller sharing information about the Elkinsville reunion, and we'll hear Jim Eagleman's essay on sweet corn.
It's my pleasure to introduce Bill Miller, who is here to talk about the history of Elkinsville and the annual reunion that he hosts. Hi, Bill.
Hi, Dave. I wanted to let people know about the Elkinsville reunion coming up. It's an annual reunion. Actually, this is the 31st annual Elkinsville reunion, and wanted to give a little background. Elkinsville was one of the first settlements in Brown County, being settled from the south and east. Elkinsville is about 1 mile from the Jackson County line. So it was an early area that was settled, probably around 1840, 50. I know it was set up and divided around 1811, 1812 when it was surveyed. The area called Elkinsville at one time contained as many as 250 to 300 people, scattered over a 5 to 6 mile area in a almost closed kind of valley west of Story, about 4 miles in the southern part of Brown County, directly south of Nashville and Brown County State Park. At one time, it had 2 grocery stores, a school to the 8th grade, a church, a post office from 1927 to 1941. So it was what was called a small town back at that time. Actually, it had school there up through 1956, I believe, a little bit more. The owner and the founder of Lucas Oil went to school there in the late 40s and early 50s. Most of the town that was destroyed by building of Lake Monroe in about early 60s. They took down the school, they took down the church, took down the stores, most of the houses, so that when I purchased there in 1967, why most of the town was gone. There was just a few places were high ground that they didn't take. But the reason most of the people left that area when I was coming in was that they took all the good farmland in the bottoms away. So people had no land to farm and place to put their animals, so to speak. So they pretty much left. And once you take a church and a school and the grocery store out of a community, you're really taking the heart of the community away. So that was kind of a dark period there. I purchased land there 1967. So last year in 2017, I had property there for 50 years. The first reunion was 1987. Karen Zodi, good friend of mine over the years, and her husband, she came to my house and said they were looking to have the people that used to live there, they were looking for a place to have a reunion. And since I bought there in 1967, 20 years had passed, and I really knew very few people that used to live there or the history of the area, and I was quite interested, but it just seemed like it was nobody around. Once in a while somebody would stop by, but very, very rarely. So when Karen asked me if I knew any place they could have a reunion, I volunteered my property and said, sure, they can come here. And I had a field across from my house. We could set up the tables in my yard. And so we established the first reunion in 1987. The first reunion, we had surprisingly, about 250 people. I mean, it was big. The people had this pent-up feeling of wanting to get back and see each other for many years. So when the opportunity came, here they come with food baskets and pictures and everything, and they were just so excited to get together. Now we have about 60 to 100 people. One of the reasons, of course, is just attrition. A lot of the older people have passed on, and so it's dwindled down, but now we're in the second and third generation, and people seem to want to keep it going, and as long as I'm able to keep it going and work with it, why, we'll continue to have an annual Elkinsville reunion. It was first started by Bob Cross and Billy Lutz and several of the people that used to live there, and like I said, Karen Zodi was the first person. Her mother were natives of that area. Of course, Bob Cross, a lot of people know who he was because he helped write the book. He wrote the book Dusty Road Leads to Elkinsville in around 2001 or 2, and then he and two of his other friends wrote Elkinsville, the Town That Was. Both of them very good books. The Elkinsville reunion, when we first started, it was in August. And one of the things that happened in August was we had bees. The bees came out for the food, and everywhere you turned, there were bumblebees and honeybees and whatever. And so it was kind of uncomfortable, plus August was pretty warm. So after the first one, I said, how about we set a date for every year so everybody can remember it? So how about the first Sunday of October? It's cooler then. You don't have to ask what the date will be. Each year you can remember it's the first Sunday of October. So that stayed the same. And, of course, the bees are gone by the first Sunday of October. It's the weather's better. And we went 26 years straight without having a rain out. And then the 27th year, it rained all day. For me personally, I'm really pleased it got started. It's just a true reunion in the sense of what a reunion is supposed to be. So anybody that would like to come, please feel welcome, but realize that it's mostly about the people of Elkinsville.
When the strawberries were under attack, the yelling at the game stopped, and all was quiet. And he checked my hands when I came to supper, and if they were red, I was warned to stay out of the patch and to warn my buddies. In a corner of the garden, we planted sweet corn. I recall several plantings, so we'd have corn throughout the summer. The husks, cobs, and other produce waste was added to a compost pile that grew in size all summer. My first lesson in recycling was to see the spent stems and leaves and uneaten crops in the compost pile decay over winter, and then it was added to the next year's planting. My dad used to say the best part of summer for him was sweet corn. I'd hear him remark to his friends that he wanted to eat only the sweetest corn he could grow. In 1961, we moved from there to the University of Illinois, and his career changed from being a county vet to professor. His transition to me was remarkable. Almost overnight, it seemed, he went from a vet with cow dung smeared on his white coveralls to a pipe-smoking, tweed jacket-wearing teacher on a bicycle. He biked every day to campus where he taught veterinary students, and there he soon became friends with a plant geneticist. Ag research at the time was spent mostly on field corn, used as livestock food, but also his friend researched sweet corn. Both types of corn had to be suited to the rich black Illinois prairie soil and adapted to the long, humid summer heat. Another garden this time in our small backyard still produced annual crops of tomatoes and beans, but one crop got more attention. Seeds from a new kind of sweet corn were planted, one that came from the plant geneticist who said it was still in the testing stage. He grew it and ate it himself and gave seeds to others for their opinion, but the seed was unavailable commercially. My dad was excited. He called it the Illini Super Sweet. To plant the corn in larger quantity and to harvest over several weeks, he rented a small field outside of town. An interested veterinary student and his wife helped with the planting, and soon we were eating the sweetest Illinois sweet corn ever produced. Picking was to be quickly followed by boiling, we were told, so the sugars did not degrade and to be at their peak. To accomplish this, we soon began bringing a camp stove and water pot to the field to enjoy this new treat rather than waste time getting it home. To our friends, my dad was becoming a sweet corn fanatic. So it shouldn't come as any surprise years later, I have also become a fan of sweet corn, though the fanatic title may be a bit extreme. Summer means many things to us, but one aspect for sure is the great flavor we enjoy from garden fresh vegetables. Tomatoes, beans, peas, lettuce, all are wonderful, but topping the list, at least for me, is sweet corn. Now purchased at farmers markets and roadside produce stands, I'm a bit wary if the corn will be tasty. You don't really know until that first bite if you made the right purchase. But slathered with butter and topped with salt and pepper, it's only a minor disappointment. One telltale sign, I was told, to look for is the kernel shape before the ear hits the water. If it's dimpled, you can guess it's older than you probably want. But like me, if you waited all year for this delicacy, you ignore that and jump in with both hands, rotating the ear with moans of lusciousness and elbows dripping with butter. Eating sweet corn was as much a family tradition, I recall, as birthdays and holidays. My granddad used a paring knife to scrape the corn off the cob with kernels flying. His false teeth may have prevented him from eating like me, but the result was the same. My dad, my granddad, and I, we sat back and wiped our faces. Good corn, we said. Summertime here in Indiana. Wonderful time here in Brown County. Enjoy this time. I can guess at some meal at your table this summer, there'll be a platter of sweet corn piled high, steaming and ready to eat with butter and salt and pepper on standby. Oh my, what a good thing to look forward to. Jim Eagleman with Nature Ramblings, WFHB FM, the Brown County Hour. Enjoy your sweet corn this summer, and thanks for listening.
In our final segment, Dave Seastrom shares his thoughts on the importance of supporting WFHB during the fund drive. And we'll close the show with the Acre Brothers tune, Stumblin' in Love.
The secret behind volunteer-powered community radio is that it's a little bit of magic combined with a whole lot of effort. The magic is the enthusiasm and dedication of those who participate. The 200 or so people who volunteer their time to bring you the programming that you enjoy 24 hours, 7 days a week, do so because we love what we're doing. We also believe in the mission of creating a public forum that expresses the diversity of our community and the ability to share great music in all genres that you would be hard-pressed to find anywhere else. Our DJs and public interest program directors are free to express themselves without corporate influence, and our award-winning local news programming shares honest information without agenda. In other words, we bring you uninhibited radio that's a reflection of who we are and where we live. It's about community, and we're proud to add our voices to the mix. The Brown County Hour is an excellent example of the diversity that you can find on WFHB. We bring you a snapshot of what life is like here in Hill Country. We introduce you to the movers and shakers, community leaders, folks who are working for the betterment of Brown County, and the artists and musicians that inform the heart and soul of who we are. We also are deeply concerned about the management decisions that are changing the nature of our state forests, and we bring you honest discussions with informed activists who are working for a positive change. I remember when the station first started broadcasting back in the Radio Ridge days. Some friends told me WFHB was on the air, and I started tuning in right away. I became an instant fan, and I've been a faithful listener ever since. In those days, I was a contractor, and one of the considerations about whether I would take a job or not was if I could hear WFHB while I was working. As I was pulling up to a prospective job, my radio was tuned to the station, and if by chance I couldn't receive the signal, I had to think long and hard about taking the work. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of broadcasting, and we hope to be here at least another 25 and beyond. It took a lot of determination and many years of pancake breakfasts and other funding efforts to raise the money to create that moment when WFHB crackled into life and began broadcasting for the first time. And with your help, we're still going strong after all these years. And that's the point, friends. We need your help. Even though this station runs on a shoestring budget, we still have to raise enough money to pay our bills. Our goal for this fund drive is $48,000. That's a lot of money. But this time, we're under additional pressure because our Corporate for Public Broadcasting money is on the line. The CPB money represents 25% of our budget, and in order to qualify, we have to make our financial goals. Right now, you're listening to the station during Fund Drive. This says something about you, and it strongly indicates that not only are you a fan of the programming, you care about the future of this station. If you've ever considered donating to WFHB, now is the time. Even if you're a sustaining member, please consider digging deep and adding to your pledge. This is a time when all people of goodwill need to pull together to accomplish a mutual goal, so that radio of the people, for the people, and by the people shall not perish from the face of the earth. I believe in our community, and I believe we will rise to the occasion and fulfill our financial goals. Thank you for your consideration. This is Dave Seastrom. See you next time.
So Stumbling in Love is the first song on the record. That song was a surprise for my wife, Erin. It's a love song for her, and I didn't tell her that we were doing that. She had never heard the song. So the first thing I did after we were finished tracking was hit play on that song. But it's probably my favorite song on the record. It's for her.
Falling upstairs and singing a love song, hobbled by streets of cobblestone, in through the outdoor over and over again. Stumbling in love, please take my hand. Stumble in love, stumble in love. 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 Head in the clouds up above, reel me in like a kite on a string. In this mixed up world, you're the only thing I'm sure of. I'm a fool in love, stumbling. got a glimpse of my goofy grin. I'm so glad you can love a fool. Look at the state I'm in. Stumble in love, stumble in love. Stumble in love, stumble in love. Stumble in love, stumble in love. I'm a fool stumbling in love. Stumble in love, stumble in love. Stumble in love, stumble in love. I'm a fool stumbling 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 in love. I'm so glad you can love a fool. I'm a fool stumbling in love.
Thanks for tuning in to episode 78 of the Brown County Hour, recorded in our studio at the History Center here in downtown Nashville, and brought to you the first Sunday of every month at 9 a.m. and the following Wednesday at 6 p.m.
The Brown County Hour is brought to you by a diverse group of folks who believe now more than ever the world is for everyone.
This show was produced by
Chuck Wills,
Pam Rader,
Rick Fettig,
Vera Grubbs,
Cari Ray.
and Dave Seastrom. We would also like to thank Slats Klug for our theme music. You have been listening to the Brown County Hour.
Coming to you from deep in the woods of Brown County, Indiana.
celebrating the arts, culture, and nature that make this such a unique community.
Visit us online at browncountyhour.com.
The Brown County Hour is a production of WFHB.
Volunteer-powered, listener-supported community radio for South Central Indiana.
Take me back to my old Brown County home.